Hi, everyone. My name is Patricia Scroggs, and I'm the director of the Charles B. Rangel International Affairs Fellowship Program. This presentation is on the 2022 Rangel International Affairs Graduate Fellowship Program. Thank you so much for joining us today. So the Charles B. Rangel International Affairs Fellowship Program is part of the International Affairs Program. We are a U.S. Department of State program that is administered by Howard University. The program began in 2002, and it focuses on preparing young people for careers in international affairs. It promotes excellence and diversity in the U.S. presence abroad, and especially in the U.S. Department of State Foreign Service. There are two components to our program. The first one, which is what we're going to be discussing today, is the Rangel International Affairs Graduate Fellowship Program. And the second one is the Rangel International Affairs Summer Enrichment Program. We'll talk about the first. For the second, please look at our website and learn a little bit more about that program for undergraduates. Okay, so talking about the Rangel Fellowship, I really like to start at with the Foreign Service. Why is that? Because the Rangel Fellowship leads to the Foreign Service. That is the reason for applying for it, because you would like to be in the Foreign Service. So if you get the fellowship, you get the job at the end. So you get the fellowship, we pay for 2 years of graduate school, professional development, internships, but when you finish it, you enter the Foreign Service. So the job is waiting for you. However, you really want to, you have to want the job, because we do have a 5-year service obligation. So I kind of like to start by talking a bit about what that obligation is like. First, the Foreign Service of the U.S. Department of State is the U.S. Diplomatic Corps, and we work in over 270 posts around the world and also in U.S. locations. So we work in Washington, D.C., we can work in New York. There are other posts around the country that we occasionally work in. As the diplomatic arm, we work to promote peace, security, prosperity, freedom, and respect for human dignity. We help Americans overseas who are in trouble. We promote human rights and combat trafficking in persons. We coordinate on security and conflict resolution. We promote dialogue, exchanges, and understanding. We manage large embassies overseas, and we facilitate trade and cooperation on environmental issues. So if you think of the issues that we deal with domestically, we also have to deal with them internationally. And the Foreign Service is about promoting cooperation with other countries, with other people, with other organizations to try to solve important problems in the world. So I spent 20 years in the Foreign Service before I joined the Rangel program. I truly loved my time, but there were two things that really stood out to me in the Foreign Service. The first thing is the Foreign Service is a career that matters. So whether I was working to try to improve Japan's compliance on environmental issues, or whether I was in Vietnam, trying to find out information on POW MIAs to give some comfort to families who lost loved ones during the Vietnam War, or whether I was helping an American who got in trouble, or working on trade deals worth truly billions of dollars. I always felt that my job mattered, and that what we were doing not only helped the American people, but also people around the world that had an interest on whatever issue we were working on. The second thing is that it is a career that has incredible amounts of change in it. So if you're one of those people kind of like me that is intellectually restless, like you almost can't decide what you want to do for the rest of your life because you have so many interests, the Foreign Service is great. Every 2 to 3 years, our job changes, where we are change. We're always meeting new people. We're constantly training in new skills. And so our job stays fresh, intellectually interesting. And again, we feel like what we do matters. So if you're someone who's interested in international service, interested in public service, and truly interested in making a difference in the world, the Foreign Service, I think, is a wonderful career. So let's talk a little bit about the fellowship, because as I mentioned, if you get the fellowship, you do get in to the Foreign Service in the end. So eligibility requirements. First, you have to be a US citizen. You have to have a cumulative GPA of 3.2 on a 4.0 scale, and you have to be planning to enroll in a 2-year master's program for fall of 2022. So you're applying now to start graduate school in fall 2022. Now, what types of graduate programs can you apply to? Well, they have to be at a US university in an area of relevance to the Foreign Service. They have to be full-time and in person. Again, unless there's something like COVID, which changed that a bit. What types of programs do we consider relevant? Well, things like international affairs, business administration, public administration, management. Maybe you're going to get a master's in migration studies or a master's in social work in an area that has relevance to international affairs, or again, conflict resolution. So we do not pre-qualify specific programs. You can certainly look at where our fellows have gone in the past. But again, as long as they are 2-year full-time programs in a US institution, they are relevant to the Foreign Service, you can put them into your application. We're not asking upfront to know where you're going. We're just asking where you plan to apply, because again, you're doing this during the summer and you probably don't know yet where you want to go or are going to go to graduate school. Please note that graduate school applications are done in addition to the Rangel program. They do not take the place of it. So you're both applying to the Rangel program as well as applying for graduate school at the same time. Okay, so let's talk about the timeline. The graduate fellowship is now open for applications. You can go in today, look at it, www.rangelprogram.org, press apply, and you can get started. You have until September 29th, 2021 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to get your application in. I do recommend that you get in at least 24 hours early because you don't want your power to go out or problems with internet connectivity. Again, the application will close on September 29th. From our applicants, we will pick 90 finalists. We will let you know if you're a finalist by the end of the day on November 4th, 2021. If you are a finalist, we will invite you to do a writing exercise as well as do an interview. Those exercises and interviews will take place the week of November 29th to December 2nd. They will be virtual this year. So just to make sure people are safe, we are going to do them virtually. Your writing will be on a different day than your interview. We will explain all of that to you if you are selected as a finalist. So we interview again up to December 2nd, and then December 3rd, our panel meets, makes its final decision. And by the end of the day, you know whether or not you're a fellow. The timing of this is really great because at that point, you're probably thinking about starting to apply for graduate programs, and you're applying knowing that you actually have funding for graduate school. Graduate programs really like to attract Rangel Fellows. You come with money, you come having won with a major award, and you have a job when you graduate. And so you'll find that many graduate programs will want to attract you. You then start your graduate school applications. You'll start doing your security clearance, your medical clearance, getting ready. We'll start thinking about your internship for the following summer. And then in May of 2022, usually it's about the 3rd week of May, we get together to begin orientation and to formally begin the program. Okay, so what does the fellowship entail? Well, the fellowship provides funding for graduate school, and altogether it's worth about $106,000. Let me tell you how it breaks down. First, graduate school. So we're paying $84,000 over 2 years for your graduate education. That includes $24,000 a year that we give directly to the university that you choose and we approve to cover your tuition. We will give you an academic stipend of $18,000 per year to be able to cover things like, your rent and food and your books during the time you're in graduate school. Then during the summers, you're going to be doing internships, and we'll provide you with about $11,000 in benefits for the 2 internships. That includes a stipend, housing, and transportation. Now, as I tell you about the award, I say, 84,000 toward graduate school, which sounds good. But most of you probably have noticed at this point that what we're paying your graduate program every year is $24,000. For most of the graduate programs that you are looking for, particularly if you're looking at a private school or private university, they cost more than that. Because of that, we have arrangements with over 40 universities around the country to provide additional financial assistance to you. So let's say you decided to go to Georgetown, or you decided to go to Johns Hopkins, or you decided to go to Columbia, or you decided to go to University of Michigan or University of Washington. They are Rangel partners, and they provide additional financial assistance. In most cases, they provide the remainder of your tuition fees. In some cases, they even go beyond that. They both help with tuition as well as providing another stipend. If you're interested in learning about these programs, you can look on our website. We have a list of them. Email us and we'll send you their current offers. Our goal is to get you out of graduate school and a graduate school that you really, really want to go to with little, if no, additional debt. Another great thing about graduate school is that you're going there knowing that you have a job when you get out, so you can really focus on the graduate school experience. So that is the award. Now, with the award comes some obligations, and these are important. The first and most important one is that you have a 5-year service obligation. So again, we'll be providing well over $100,000 towards your preparation and your graduate school. But in return, you will provide the State Department with 5 years of service at a minimum. Now, that actually is great, because you should actually want to join the Foreign Service if you want this fellowship. 5 years generally will be 2 overseas tours and probably a year of training. So you'll probably learn a new language during that period. You will go to 2 very different countries to serve in U.S. embassies. So it's a wonderful chance to see if this is a career that really works for you. The other thing is that as part of the agreement, you have to be able to get medical security and suitability clearances. Remember when I told you at first that if you get the fellowship, you get the job? That is true, except for one thing, and that has to do with clearances. You do have to be able to get medical security and suitability clearances to be able to stay with the program. Now, what are these? So medical just means that we arrange for you to have an exam and that you're healthy enough to serve at posts around the world. That does not mean that you don't have any type of condition, but it does mean that whatever condition you have is well managed. Certainly you can look on our website, you can look this up to learn more about what it is to be medically cleared. Security clearances mean that we are trusting you with the security of the United States, with the secrets of the United States, because you will have top secret security clearances. And so they want to make sure that you're both trustworthy and able to effectively guard and protect our country. A suitability clearance is a little bit beyond that. And that's something that's special to a State Department. As State Department Foreign Service officers, we actually represent the United States when we're abroad. So we are the representative of the American people. So it's very important to us that our conduct, both on and off duty, shows responsibility. So again, because we are so visible, it's important. Now, what are the major things that tend to affect young people when it comes to security clearances? The most common one is recent use of illegal drugs. I tell you that not to scare you off, but again, if you cannot get the security clearance or suitability clearance, you can't continue with the program. Now, again, it's not that you can never have used illegal drugs, but there has to be a specific or significant amount of time between. There's no exact number that I can give you. If 12 months or whatever. It really depends on, what you did, when you did it, with what consequences, with what frequency, and only diplomatic security can make that determination. However, if this is something that you have done, in the past year, I really do recommend that you learn all you can about the fellowship and give it some time so that you actually have a period that you have not used any such substances, and perhaps look at applying the following year. So besides use of illegal drugs, other things that can come up, any type of academic dishonesty, again, legal troubles, sometimes, again, what we call financial irresponsibility, and that is not having debt. Most people have debt now, and that's not a problem at all. But if you're going from credit card to credit card, you're not paying off minimum balances, you've defaulted on student loans, that can also be the type of issue that can affect a security clearance. Again, I just wanted to give you an overview here. Please look at our website, look at the State Department resources if you have any questions. Also, if you want to discuss these things, you can also email me. My email is pscroggs@howard.edu. I'm always glad to talk about these issues. I don't get to make the decision, so I can't give you a definitive answer on whether or not you will get these. However, this is my 16th year in the job. I'm glad to at least talk you through some of the issues and make sure you get the resources you need. I do keep it confidential. I do not serve on the panel, nor would I ever divulge any of this information to the security panel, to the selection panel or anywhere else. So I like to point this out because these clearances are very important. Once you get in the program, you have to maintain a GPA of 3.2 in graduate school, and you have to meet State Department entry requirements. That means that you'll have to take the Foreign Service Officer test, often called the written test, during the 2 years you're in the program. You'll also have to take the second part, the Foreign Service Oral Assessment, while you're in the program too. You are not required to pass either of them as a requirement to go into the Foreign Service. Okay, so the next thing is graduate school. So you've gotten the fellowship, congratulations. We're going to talk a little bit more about graduate school. If you get here on December 3rd that you have it, the next week you and I and the group will be talking about your graduate school options. So you can go, again, to any good graduate program in an area of relevance to the Foreign Service. It has to be a 2-year master's program, again, at U.S. institutions. And again, some graduate programs provide additional funding. Okay. Orientation. So you will begin orientation usually the 3rd week of May. This is a wonderful chance to get to know more about the Foreign Service, about the fellowship, to get to know your cohort really well. We do a lot of professional development activities such as Foreign Service writing, which is quite different than academic writing. We'll make a visit to the State Department. We'll work on crisis management. We'll get you ready for your Congressional Internship. We do a variety of different things throughout that 1 week to get you prepared for what comes next. You then begin your Congressional Internship. This is something that differentiates the Rangel program from the Pickering program. The two programs are almost exactly the same in terms of how much funding they give you, the fact they both go into the Foreign Service, but the difference is that the Rangel Fellowship has a domestic internship on Capitol Hill. This is a wonderful opportunity to learn about Congress's role in foreign policy. This is something that will really benefit you when you go into the Foreign Service. And it's also a really interesting way to experience Washington through working for either a member of Congress. You might work on a congressional committee. We sometimes have people that work on Capitol Hill. In other cases, we have people that, we'll work in committees. Some will work in the Senate, some will work on the House. You can work in Republican offices, you can work in Democratic offices. Your job is to learn about Congress's role. We will place you based on some of the information you will give us about your preferences, what you're interested in. And this is a 10-week internship, and it's a truly wonderful experience. You then start your first year of graduate school, so you'll all go off to different graduate programs. The summer between your first and second year, you're going to go overseas and do a internship at a U.S. embassy or a U.S. consulate. So you tell us where you want to go. There are some guidelines, so you can't go any place that is dangerous. So you're not going to be going to Afghanistan or Iraq during your summer internship, and you have to go to some place that has housing, that or the embassy can house you. But you could end up in places like Lima, Peru, or you could go to Tunis, Tunisia. You could go to Canberra, Australia. You could go to the US mission to NATO in Europe. So we place people in internships all around the world. Also, these internships are truly substantive because the embassies know that you will be foreign service officers the next year. They give you significant amounts of responsibility, and you really get to learn about both the work and the lifestyle of the foreign service. So they're really, really wonderful opportunities. You then go back and you finish your second year in graduate school. If you graduate in May, you join the Foreign Service in the first class afterwards. It's usually late June, early July that most people will enter. Again, you have a 5-year service obligation, but you're embarking on a truly remarkable, interesting, and productive career where you truly will help both the American people and people with whom you are working. So it is a wonderful career. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the application if this is of interest to you. So you apply online, you'll have a personal statement, a statement of financial need, 2 letters of recommendation. One is from a faculty member or instructor, and the other one is from a community leader. A community leader is someone who knows you in a non-academic way, and it can talk about you, things like your work ethic and your organizational skills, your interpersonal skills. So it's somebody who has seen you in action. So it could be a faculty advisor to a student organization, could be your supervisor at work, could be somebody more senior that you've worked with on a volunteer program. So someone who can give us insight into you as an emerging professional. You also have to upload proof of US citizenship. For most people, that's your passport, but can also be your birth certificate. You will have to fill out the student aid report or the FAFSA, which then becomes the student aid report. You're going to do it for the 2021-2022 year. That means you're doing it for the application that is now open. I strongly recommend that you start work on it right away. That way you get the student aid report, because it takes, usually at least a few days, sometimes longer to generate, and you will need the information in there to fill out your application. So just go ahead, apply for the FAFSA if you haven't done so already for this year. And honestly, it does not matter whether or not you're in school, every applicant must provide this. If we also ask for a financial aid letter or statements from the applicant's senior year. So if you received financial aid during your senior year or during college, we want some type of documentation of that. So you can often ask your school and they will give it to you. Sometimes you'll have to use a portal. If you've been out for a little while, you may have to get it from the actual organizations. So there's a number of ways you can do this, but if you're getting financial assistance, or if you had financial assistance during your undergraduate, we would like to see some documentation of it. It's best if it looks official, if it has your name on it, it has your school's name on it. That is the type of documentation that we're looking for. You will also need to supply to us transcripts from all colleges or universities you've attended. So if you started a community college and then you switched over, or if you did study abroad, we want to see your transcripts. There is one reason why you would not need to send transcripts. So if you went to a school and your credits transferred over to your current school, along with your grades. You do not have to send us a transcript, but if only the credits and not the grades transfer, you do need to send us a transcript. You will, again, fill out your application, you will upload the required information, and we need to receive all your components by September 29th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It will close at this point, so you do have to get it in beforehand. Please talk to your recommenders to make sure that they have gotten in their information too. So let's talk about crafting a competitive application. So the first thing to do is make sure you really want this fellowship. So as I said, it's a fellowship that leads to the Foreign Service. So you may want to spend a little time on the State Department's career website, careers.state.gov. It's really wonderful. You can click on being a Foreign Service officer. It will give you a lot of information. You can take a little quiz to see what type of career track you're most interested in within the Foreign Service. And that'll give you an idea. You also want to look at the application requirements to make sure that you are eligible. So again, we are very serious about the 3.2 GPA minimum. And you do have to be a US citizen, on the day that you apply. We have no problems, and we often have naturalized US citizens as part of the program. We greatly value the experience that people with an international background bring to our program and to US diplomacy, but you do have to be a US citizen when you apply. And again, you have to be thinking of a 2-year graduate program that matches our requirements. So if all of that works, then you're ready to start your application. And one of the things you're going to want to start with is your statement of interest, because this is important. You get 600 words to tell us why you want to be a Foreign Service officer and what you have done or what you bring that would make you effective in that. So in terms of your motivations, please be sure to say why you were interested in being a State Department Foreign Service officer. Very often people will say why I'm interested in international affairs, and that may be part of it, but State Department is more than that. We are an agency that works to promote change, that works on a specific range of issues. We work with foreign governments, we work with foreign populations. What is it about the work of the Foreign Service, not just international affairs, that interests you? So please be clear about that. The second thing is what you bring, and that can be a lot of different things. So you can talk about your educational background. Maybe you come from have a very unique background. Maybe it's a multicultural background. Maybe you had to overcome obstacles to get where you are, and so that brings with it resourcefulness. Maybe you want to talk about internships that you've done that are relevant, or experiences, or volunteer work. Maybe you want to talk about public service generally. So you decide how you want to package your background to show that you are interested and are ready to be in the Foreign Service. The next thing is to look at your academic abilities, which means you have to put in your transcript. Again, we're not looking for a specific GPA. I can't tell you what our average GPA is because I don't know, because that is not what's most important. We want to see that you've challenged yourself during your undergraduate, that you've taken a variety of classes, that you've continued to improve as you figure out what it is you want to do. So we're going to look at that. And again, our panel is really good about looking at you as an overall candidate. Next, you're going to obtain strong letters of recommendation, and you're going to monitor their arrival. The most common reason that people don't complete their application is that their recommenders don't send things in. You can see on our application whether or not your recommenders have provided things. Your first diplomatic duty may be tactfully reminding your recommenders to get them in on time. You can actually see what we're going to ask your recommenders. If you look under if you look under our application criteria, we actually will give you, we'll show you what it looks like, what we're going to ask your recommenders, so you can see it. So you can help prepare your recommenders. Generally, they should write to this opportunity. So you want them to talk about, their views of you and your potential to be a foreign service officer, as well as their experiences with you. You want them to talk about certain characteristics, traits, skills that you can see in it. You want it to be complete. Please make sure that you're asking people that know you well. Sometimes people feel like, oh, I've got to go to the chair of my department, or I got to ask my member of Congress for a letter. Unless they know you really well, that's probably not the right person. Pick the professor that knows you well, that you've taken a couple of classes with, and that's really enthusiastic about you. Or again, if you had a supervisor at an internship that's enthusiastic about you and worked with you during a summer, that could be a great person to use for your community leader. So tell them what the program is about, make sure they understand the guidelines, make sure they understand that this should not be just a recycled letter from something else, but it should really address this opportunity and make sure they get it in on time. The next thing is to demonstrate the need for financial assistance for graduate school. So for that, again, you're going to fill out the FAFSA and you're going to get the student aid report and you're going to upload that. You are also going to put in a 400-word essay on your financial need. What is that? So I want you both to think about your socioeconomic background, as well as your need for funding for graduate school. This is an opportunity for you to fill in the dots for our panel. So again, for many of you, if we just looked at the number that comes up in your estimated family contribution, we would not know everything about you. So did you work during school? Did you pick the university that you chose because they gave you a good financial package? Did you start at a community college because of that? Did you work during your undergraduate years to make money for school? Tell us about your financial need, both looking backwards in terms of university or perhaps family background before that, and then looking forward. Do you have funds for graduate school? And explain that to us. So if you were looking right at me and wanted to say, this is why I have financial need, that's what this essay is all about. Again, maximum 400 words. Let's see. Then you want to include all your relevant extracurricular, communities, professional, volunteer, and work experiences, and highlight leadership roles in them. So if you can use a strong action verb to explain your involvement in an organization, that's really helpful. So maybe you were the president or the vice president of the treasurer. That's great. But what did you do? Did you spearhead the annual fundraising drive? Did you organize a seminar series? Tell us a little bit about what you did. So we want to see that you have relevant experience. Sometimes your experience can be plain work experience. So maybe you're one of those people who had to work almost full-time while you were in school. Well, we'll certainly take into account your work experience as we're looking at this aspect. So please fill that out. Remember that we do look at your extracurriculars, work, and volunteer experiences. We are a program that values public service, and we value the skills that come from internships and volunteer work and regular work. The next thing you want to do to be competitive is to list all relevant college, university, or professional honors and awards. Finally, proofread all aspects of your application carefully and submit all application materials on time. You are applying to a very competitive fellowship, and you want your application to be as good as it can possibly be. And I will tell you, by the time you finish, you will have looked at it lots of times, and you may not be able to see an error. Maybe it's a typo or whatever. It's perfectly fine to have someone else look at it for you. If you want to work with someone on your personal statement, maybe you have a fellowship advisor at your university, or maybe you have a professor that you trust. That's perfectly fine. In the end, though, it's your work and it goes in through the application. Okay, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us. Our email is wrangelprogram@howard.edu. Please note that we have a variety of information sessions all summer besides this one. So we have information sessions on foreign service life and foreign service work, and we have information sessions on how to pick a graduate school, and we have information sessions on how to write a good statement. We have lots and lots of information sessions to help prepare you both for the application and for what's going to come if you decide to become a Rangel Fellow. I'm going to end this here with an invitation that you continue to engage with us as you write your application, reach out if we can answer questions, and I want to wish you the very best of luck as you move forward with this program. Thank you very much.